Hi, it's the 26th of March 2020. We're in the middle of a pandemic and we're still working on the allotment, luckily. And it's been wonderful sunny weather this week. We've been going every day for the last 3 or 4 days, got lots of weeds out. Last week I managed to get mushroom compost I also wanted some green waste compost, but when I phoned again and asked if they could deliver a load of green waste compost, they said they don't know when they're going to be doing deliveries again, so it's possible I shan't be getting that. But at least we made a start with mulching areas of the allotment. This year I decided to grow onions from seed because the last few years the onions have suffered quite a lot with mould on their bottoms, mouldy bottoms. I heard that if you grow them from seed, they're more resistant to disease. It was Charles Dowding who said that, in fact. So I merrily planted a load of onion seeds and they all came up a little close together. So I planted them out before they had got very big so as to give them more space. And I covered them with fleece. Well, I had enough fleece to cover half of them, so I covered the other half with a hoop and net arrangement, just to keep the cold winds off them, really, and to stop them from being pecked out of the ground. They're still there a week later. I think they'll do okay. I've also got leeks growing in a tray and I'll have to plant those out into bigger pots because I don't think you put them into the ground until they've got a bit bigger, really. We've grown some peas and planted them. We protected them from the birds with various bits of fleece and netting. Well, birds and wind, I guess, but really it's the pigeons that wander along the ground casually pecking at everything that looks tasty. So when they've got a bit bigger and stronger, we can remove that and use it for other things. I've got my bean structure up for my runner beans, my beautiful artistic creation. I sort of think this might be the last year I'll do this particular one because it needs an awful lot of bits of string tying it together because it's such a strange shape, but it does look quite satisfying. I haven't moved the compost berm. I had been going to move it and didn't get around to it, and then it seems quite a solid structure, so I've started throwing more stuff on top and I'll probably leave it there. I may plant some more squashes in it. The Styrian pumpkin squashes from last year, the seeds are absolutely delicious. I'm really enjoying them and I'd love to plant some more Styrian pumpkins, but I did find that they took a lot of watering, and the ones, see, last year I planted 2 in the ground in a sort of a well of manure, and the other 2 I planted on the compost heap because I thought if I've got plants on the compost heap, I will water them regularly and that will keep the compost heap moist and help it to rot down. And they were okay, but they didn't actually produce as much fruit as the ones on the ground, so I'm not too sure about that. Maybe I should have planted them lower down in the berm, the compost berm. This winter has been a disaster for the polytunnel. It's just completely ripped to shreds, basically. And although hubby was talking about sewing it up again, I think we've given up on that idea now, and I've actually ordered another cover, which is not going to be delivered till the end of April. And I've quite missed that space for putting out the little seed trays to keep them away from the frost. So I've been taking them out and bringing them back every night and blah, 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 but I cope. I've got loads of brassicas, about that big, waiting in trays, and they're going to go in the ground quite soon, I think. They won't mind it being cold. They've been out in the garden getting used to the wind, and I'll cover them with my netting on hoops, and that'll keep the birds and a bit of the wind off them. Because it's such lovely weather for planting, and it's weird to be isolated and not to be seeing people, but you see people on the allotment and you're on your allotment and they're on their allotment, and you kind of shout to each other, and it's quite jolly, really. And it's fresh air and it's exercise, and I'm thinking that while all this global crisis is going on and people are losing their businesses and losing their jobs, and governments are scrabbling around trying to find huge, ginormous amounts of money to keep everything going, this is not going to be over soon, even if the virus is over soon, and I don't think it is. I think it's going to be going on for a few years. it's possible we'll develop some kind of herd immunity. But even so, it's going to be pretty disastrous for health and for economics and everything. For our social structure, I think we're going to have to think of new ways of living in the world. I don't think we're going to be able to go back to flying all over the place on a whim, like, where did you go for your holidays this year? Oh, I went to New Zealand to see my daughter. It's like, we're going to have to consider a lot more carefully, because I don't know if the airlines will go bust even, because if they're not flying, how can they possibly continue? They need very tight margins, and they need to be full. So they'll have to cancel flights, and the planes will be on the ground, and the staff will be laid off, and you can't carry on like that for, I don't know, more than a week or two, I would say. I think even just a month or two is going to be too long to get it back together again. So my thought is, we are going to have to restructure society, and people are going to have to reevaluate what is the most important thing. And to me, the most important thing, first of all, is food. And we're going to have to think about growing more of our own food, going back to a bit more of an agrarian, localized society, I would say. I can't see how we can continue to expand and use more and more fossil fuels and create more and more goods that nobody really needs, but they want just because they can, and everybody gets richer. Well, some people get richer and richer, and obviously some people get poorer and poorer. It just isn't sustainable in the long term. For all I know, I might be next in line for pneumonia, and maybe my lungs won't be up to it. How do I know? I'm 67. Hubby's 71. In theory, we're in the at-risk category. So my strategy is just to stay away from people as advised, hope for the best, and just carry on doing what is fun to do and what seems like a useful thing, both for us and maybe for other people, I don't know, and that is growing our own food. It's just every day is a gift, even if you have to stay at home and you can't do things that cost money and be extravagant in your lifestyle. It's still a gift to have your health and to have any kind of opportunity to do something fun. So let's make the most of it. And let's hope we live to see another day. Bye.